Hey guys, welcome back to Coach Hall Writes. In today's video, we're going to be going through the College Board's recent announcement about the 2020 AP exams. So here's the information that we now know as of April 3rd. So first of all, we already knew that the exams were going to be taken at home, and we knew that they were going to be 45 minutes. Students could do this on a computer, a laptop, a tablet, a phone, or they could handwrite the exam and upload it on their phone because it's going to be a free response question, no multiple choice. Well, now we have some new information. So first of all, let's talk about when this is all happening. So there's going to be two renditions of the test. There's going to be the initial test and then a makeup period. And so the exams are actually going to be taking place in May around the time they were initially scheduled for. Not necessarily the exact date and time, but around that same week or so. The College Board has released a schedule, and based on that schedule, there is no overlap between tests. So if you're a student who is taking multiple AP classes, don't worry about possibly being double booked. There's no possibility of that. They made sure that each test essentially has its own time slot, which is very helpful. So you need to be aware of when these tests are, so I will leave a link to that in the description box below. Now, the makeup window is going to be in June. So it's going to be June 1st to June 5th. And one thing to keep in mind is that the makeup window is potentially for students who have technology problems, or if there's a reason you need to take that later test. So if there's some kind of school conflict or something like that, there is a makeup window. So if you lose power or have some kind of technical issue the day of the exam, then there is the potential to take it during the makeup period. So if you are experiencing those issues, make sure that you contact your teacher or try to contact the College Board as soon as possible. But I'm actually going to be coming out with a video giving you guys tips for how to prepare for the actual day of your AP test so that hopefully you don't have any kind of technology problems, because I know that would be really, really scary for me if I was a student, and I don't want you guys to go through that either. So those are the testing windows right now. It's going to be different renditions of the test, but the actual question type is going to be the same. So if you take it in June, you're not going to have the exact same question as the people who took it in May. So now let's talk about what types of questions students are actually going to see. So I'm not going to go through every single AP class here because that would just take forever, but let's talk about AP English first. So if you are in AP Lang, you are going to receive a question 2 prompt, which is rhetorical analysis. If you are in AP Lit, you're going to also receive question 2, except for you guys, it's going to be a short fiction passage. And so there's one thing to consider with this, and I'm going to talk about this in future videos as well. Depending on the device that you take the exam on, you're going to have to be looking at that passage on that device. And so if you take it on your phone, it might be a little bit harder to read the passage because it's going to be a smaller screen. So you might want to take it on a tablet or a Chromebook or a desktop computer if you have access to one. If you don't, the College Board is actually working with students to make sure that they have the technology and internet that they need. So if you are struggling with that, make sure you reach out to your AP teacher or AP coordinator, because the College Board is doing whatever they can to help students in this regard. Now, if you are taking a math class, you might actually want to do the handwritten portion. I can't imagine doing math on a computer, to be honest. And then you could actually take a picture on your phone and upload it. One thing that they said though, and this applies to all exams, is that whatever device you log in on to retrieve the test is the one that you have to submit on. So you really can't be working on 2 different devices. Now there is sort of one loophole to this, but it's probably going to waste your time, but I'll tell you anyway so you can make that decision for yourself. Let's say you log on and retrieve the test via a Chromebook. Well, you could then technically handwrite the essay, take a picture on your phone, send it to that Chromebook, and then upload it on the Chromebook and submit. But there's really only about a 5-minute window in order to submit, and that could potentially take a while. So you don't necessarily want to be trying to navigate between 2 devices in that way. There's not a way to share the screen or anything, so you can't access the passage on one screen and type on the other. It has to be on the same device that you log in on. So I'm actually going to be doing a video for AP English students about how you can annotate on paper and still submit electronically to kind of clear up some of those issues that students might have. Now, the history tests. This is a little bit interesting because it's basically going to be, from the sounds of it, a DBQ, but instead of 7 sources, there's only going to be 5 sources. So they've actually said that they're going to slightly modify the rubric to keep it fair. So make sure you check out the description box so that you guys can look at what that would entail. They're going to be very honest about how the rubric has changed, and they're making sure that it is fair based on what students are being asked to do. So I appreciate that they're actually considering that. However, other topics like AP Lang or any other rubric-based test, there's not going to be a new rubric. It's only for those specific history classes. So if you're an AP Lang student, for instance, because that's what I teach, your rubric is the same thing that you've seen all year, that 6-point rubric that was new to us in 2020 anyway. Now, for the foreign language test, they have said that it's not going to be a written free response, but rather a spoken one. And so there's going to be instructions coming out as to how students will actually do this, but it's going to be a verbal exam, because essentially they know that kids could try to use Google Translate and things like that. So you're actually going to be speaking instead of writing, but it is still a free response. If you have questions about the other exams, be sure to check out the College Board's website, because they're going to give you specifics for every single exam possible. And so if you're taking multiple AP tests, make sure that you look through each of your courses so you know what to expect. Okay, the next thing we need to talk about is the fact that the College Board has essentially said that these are open note tests, but I want to talk about this in relation to cheating. So these are open note tests. You technically can consult your textbook or any class notes that you have. So that's helpful, but please know that that could actually waste some of your time that you should spend writing. They've also said that there's going to be plagiarism software in place, and that these questions that students are going to be asked are not something that you could just Google or search for and find the answers to. So don't count on just being able to type in the question and finding some random Quizlet or something on it, because it's not going to work that way. Students are also not allowed to communicate with each other or go on places like Reddit or talk to their teachers or anything like that. It is to be done independently. Now, how are they going to monitor this? Well, they've said a few different things that they're going to do, including the plagiarism software, but they're not going to disclose all of their methods, and quite frankly, I don't blame them. But one thing that they did say is that they have software that essentially checks how quickly students write and the type of syntax and word choice that they use. And there's going to be some questions that students have to fill out before actually taking the exam. So if you basically have someone take the test for you and stuff doesn't match up, they're going to flag your test. Now, one of the consequences that they mentioned in a recent seminar for teachers is that if they flag your test, they have the right to contact the colleges that you've applied to if you had intended to send your AP scores or even SAT scores to those colleges, either in the past or in the future. So guys, I wouldn't jeopardize it. Not only could cheating waste your time, and let's not forget the fact that it's immoral and unethical, but also there are very serious consequences to this, because this is a much more open-ended test than we had initially expected because of people having to learn at home because of COVID-19. So please don't risk it and don't waste your time trying to cheat. Just do honest work. You have over a month to review for these exams and to prepare. So even if you're not having direct instruction from your teachers, the College Board is actually putting out resources for students. They have an AP YouTube channel, and they've got a lot of great seminars going on and past videos as well. So make sure that you are using those things. Now, let's talk about some other things that the College Board is going to be putting out there. So as of late April, they're actually going to be releasing a guide for students and some sort of like simulations or tutorials to show you guys exactly how to use the software needed. This will help you make an informed choice as far as how you want to take the exam. You don't have to take each exam the same way. So let's say you're in like 3 different AP classes. You can take it by hand for one class, and you can take it on a device for another. You can make that choice depending on what the exam constitutes and what you're most comfortable with. So if you're in a math class and an English class and you want to do one by hand and one on the computer, that's totally fine. So keep that in mind. Make sure that you watch those tutorials so that you know exactly how to upload correctly, and make sure that you do everything in the time limit and things like that. So I would watch all of the tutorials or read all of the information they provide, even if you know, hey, I'm going to do it on my laptop, because if you change your mind at the last second, you want to be able to know how to submit everything correctly. So please make sure that you are reading the information that the College Board puts out there. They have Instagram and they have Twitter, and they're active on there regularly as well. So one of the things that they mentioned that I think is going to be helpful is that there's going to be a timer on the computer or however you're taking it via a device, And so that can be really helpful. It can also be a bit distracting. So they said that you can actually close out the timer and shut it off if you want to, if you find it too distracting. I had students take their ACT online recently, and they said that they liked the fact that there was something counting down exactly how much time they had remaining. That way they knew how to pace themselves. Teachers have basically asked, are kids going to be able to practice this using this type of software? And the answer is yes, but we don't exactly know how yet. So that's going to be something that we'll update you guys on as we receive more of these resources from the College Board. But basically, guys, the College Board does want you to be successful, so they're going to be showing you guys how to do things and basically giving you guys as much advice as they can to make sure that everybody is prepared for this test, because you've been preparing for the content all year, but this is a change and they recognize that. So they're going to make sure that you guys have access to what you need so that you don't get thrown a curveball the day of the exam. One thing that students might be curious about is how the exams are actually going to be scored. So there are scorers that are AP teachers or college professors. Normally, in a lot of cases, they go to a particular city and have a conference where they score the exams. However, in the past, they have actually done some scoring remotely. So teachers have actually been able to do it at home. Now, all teachers are going to be able to do it at home if they're an AP reader. So not every AP teacher reads your exams, but a group that has been selected are going to be working from home in order to make sure that everybody is safe because of COVID-19. Now, moving forward, they're going to go back to the normal way of doing things for that particular test. So in 2021, assuming that there are no restrictions on anything, things will go back to the way they are, not just for the reading portion of the exam, but also for the regulations of the exam, including like the longer tests, like the way things are essentially supposed to be. So 2020 is an anomaly and they're adjusting accordingly, including how people are actually going to be scoring your exams. So like I said, certain rubrics have changed for the history classes, but everything else is going to stay the same. So you will be scored by a reader like you would have been. The difference is that that reader is probably going to be sitting in their PJs at home instead of in a room full of a bunch of other readers. So that should not affect your score in the slightest, but I know that some kids might ask, so there you go. That's your answer to that one. Another thing that teachers might want to know is that this year we're actually going to be receiving our students' work so that we can actually use this for a grade or a final exam or extra credit if we want to. Now, at this time, I know a lot of teachers are actually not necessarily taking grades because of COVID-19 and distance learning, but I do think it's valuable to actually be able to see our tests that our students have taken, and we get to see them quite early. We get them no later than May 26th for the first round of testing. So that's actually really cool. So we will actually be able to see what our students did on the exam. All right, guys, I know that was a lot of information. So if you have questions, let me know in the comments below, or double check the College Board's website because they are your primary source for all things AP anyway. I will leave those links in the description so that you guys can look through them at your own time and look for your particular exam so you can make sure that you know exactly what to expect. And if you're an AP Lang student, don't forget to subscribe to the channel because I'm going to be doing some rhetorical analysis reviews in the coming weeks. If you guys have specific video requests, make sure you leave those in the comments below as well. But I'm going to be doing some exam prep in general for AP students and also some very specific AP Lang stuff because I want to make sure that you guys are ready. So until next time, guys, happy writing!